Thank you for joining me. This is Trading with Livevol. This is where I use Livevol X, which is this trading platform right here. And I trade my real Reg T account. And then I get to show people how I use this product to trade. This is currently being used by many market makers, hedge funds, and it's the first time this is available to retail clients. And I think it's going to make a huge difference in the way people trade. So let me actually go to my account. Looks like I'm up about 800 today. If you look at my portfolio, as you guys know, I'm kind of leaning long most of my stocks. Luckily for me, the one that I'm leaning long, ZNGA, is actually up. And then I did some trading today on this to make some more money, and I'll cover that a little later. But you know, I kind of wanted to address like the overall market. So this morning I'm watching CNBC, and they have this expert, and the expert is saying the market is kind of getting tired. It looks toppy, and that it could use like a 6% pullback. And Joe Kernan goes, well, were you fully vested in 2013? And the expert goes, well, I've been looking for the pullback in 2013 as well. So basically, you know, at some point that person's going to be right, but who knows when. The thing that's interesting to me in this whole thing, and this is the SPX weekly right here, if on a normal, I've been trading for a while, normally if you had all this bad news like in Ukraine, all the reports in China, the market should already be down more than 5%. So normally in my past experiences, these kind of news hit the wire, the market sells off immediately. And if you look at this weekly chart, I mean, basically it's almost like unch. You wouldn't even know anything was going on in the world that's of any threat to the market by looking at this chart, right? So in fact, the January sell-off was greater than this one right now, which is a little confusing that it's not selling off more aggressively. If it sold off more aggressively, it would actually make sense, but it hasn't. One of the things that is curious to me is everyone, even all the experts who think it's going to be intermediate sell-off, they're basically still bullish, and they want this thing to retrace back 6 or 7% so they can actually buy, right? So they think it's tired and it's going to sell off so they can buy. It's not they're selling off because it's over. It's basically too expensive. Like if you look at the last time we really had some sell-off, which is like August of 2011 and like November of 2011, people weren't, and that happened because of the bond crisis in Europe. Nobody there was saying like, oh yeah, I wanted to drop like 15-10% so I can buy equities down there. They were genuinely concerned. So to me, like this overall thinking that the market is toppy, I question that. Just because so many people are on the same side that it's short-term overbought, and the fact that they want this to sell off so they can buy into it, not so much they're selling because it's overvalued right now and they don't want to hold as much equity versus cash. So that's my little 2 cents on why I remain bullish and not change my mind. One of the things that I do want to do is like I want to make sure that I hedge, which is why I have those VIX puts. I want those just in case. So usually when the market really goes down, it's when people aren't really paying attention, and then slowly creeps up. So like nobody's really kind of paid any attention in like beginning of August, like end of July, and then it happened like very quickly, the sell-off. So I imagine the sell-off's going to happen again. Everyone expecting a sell-off to happen, usually it doesn't sell off. In fact, there might be a better chance that it goes up again. But that's my that's my viewpoint on the marketplace, which is why most of my portfolio is the same and still remains to be remains long, except for these VIX right here. So I own this put spread, and that's my hedge against my portfolio. So you see how my $176,000 delta long, and the way I'm going to hedge it is with this VIX. The thing with the VIX also, when I look at the market, so there's two ways I actually decide how the market's going to go. You see how this thing bounced off nicely off this moving average. I think this is the middle of the Bollinger Band actually. So it's kind of driven technically, and I look at the SPX chart because it's historical, and then what I do is I look at the VIX because VIX also should go down if the market is going up, and it should go up if the market is going down. So I kind of look at both of those charts to kind of see if they're both moving in opposite direction, and that's how I make my final decision where the market's going. Now the reason I have the VIX puts is because I'm thinking maybe there could be another spike like this going up, but I didn't, have it go up this close. Usually they're like a few months apart. That remains to be seen. So that in a nutshell is why I'm still not, I mean, we can sell off, but I'm not really bought on the fact that we are going to sell off, because in my mind, we should be a lot lower on the SPX now than we are currently. Okay, so let's go to my favorite stock right now, ZNGA. So what I did this morning, and let's review the trades. ZNGA, I bought the March 6 calls for 4 cents, and then I bought my March 5.5 calls for 21 cents back. So I bought these back just because the market was selling off and ZNGA was doing one of these. So let me actually go to the 1 day. So the market sold off, and it was kind of recovering slowly, but ZNGA was recovering much faster, and the order flow was not so bullish, but you can kind of see the calls coming in slowly, and like I talked about yesterday, I looked at the SKU chart. Again, I didn't save it. I will save it next time I see it. But you see how the puts is, like the April 5 puts is 57 vol, and April 6 call is 55 vol. So the puts have a higher vol than the calls, and this SKU is actually normal. But this morning it was actually inverted, and the puts had a lower vol and the calls had a higher vol, which was the same thing that happened yesterday, which made me feel confident about buying those calls because the SKU was flat on the put side and it was actually curving to the upside. What that means in a very, very general term is as people buy and weigh the options higher, that's where the SKU is going to go, and maybe more likely where the stock's going to go. Doesn't always happen, but it's something that you can use as part of your decision-making process. So, I bought these for 21 cents. I bought more of these, I think about 30 of them for another 4 cents. And my thinking, if I'm lucky, and I don't know if I'm gonna get there or not, but I'm kind of hoping like, boom, it goes up to like 89, 589, or around up another 11 cents, and I have these working. So you can see my ZNGA 5.5 calls. I'm going to try to sell them for 40 and 42 cents, and this way I have this spread on for a good price. So just in case ZNGA goes back down to 5.5, I'll make money on this 5.5 6 call spread. And then, as you guys know, I still have 125 of these April 6 calls pretty much naked. So that is my upside. So if it goes back down, I shouldn't lose as much, or maybe I might be lucky and gain a little bit. And if it keeps going up, yeah, I mean, you know, if I sell this for 40, the most I can lose on this spread is a dime. And then once it gets past 6, all these are really working for me because they're in the money. So that's generally what I'm thinking on Zynga. Hopefully I'll have another pop and I can get to sell these calls for 40 and 42 cents, and then we'll see how it goes. So one other thing I want to talk about is GM. As you guys know, I was bullish on GM and I bought the 35-37 call spread. I made 500 bucks, and then I rolled it into the 39 call spread, and I made 500 and dumped it onto this, and basically I sold it out this morning for 3, obviously because of the problems that they're having. One of the things that, you know, I'm glad I did it. At first I was not that happy I did it when it initially started going down a little, but now I'm really happy because the 35-37 call spread that I paid $1,000 would be pretty much destroyed, and it doesn't look like I'm going to do too well on that spread. So I would have lost 1,000, but at least this way I just broke even. So I sold the GM out. Net, I broke even on it, but that's kind of I'm illustrating this just because it's generally kind of like what I like to do is I like to make some money and I like to double down with it and then see how that goes. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I kind of like doing it, especially if you have if you want to make you know, a lot of money. You kind of have to leverage it and kind of roll the dice a little bit, be really aggressive. But to me, it's harder to be aggressive when you're actually not. If you're using your own money, if you're kind of like already up and you're using the casino's money, it becomes a little easier to be aggressive. So those are what I did. I am working on Apple call spread. So yesterday, I actually did another call spread in Apple. And let me actually go to it. So originally, I did the 510, 530, right, for I think 1150. And then yesterday, I did this call spread for 11. Let me see. Let me actually go back one day. And then see what I did here. Apple. Yeah, so May 120, 140 call spread. Looks like I paid 1080 for this call spread. So I paid 1080 for this call spread, hoping to make 920 by May. So, you know, my thinking behind this whole strategy, and I was thinking about it this morning when I woke up, is that generally, and I'm going to pull up Apple. And originally I put it because of all the news that came out that the company's buying, and there was like a bunch of bullish order flow right around here when it dropped after the earnings. So I have the weeklies right now, and you see how it's kind of wedging, and basically it's going to wedge. You see the Bollinger Band kind of narrowing. Eventually it's going to move. Maybe the right move would be to buy some kind of straddle, and I see tons of straddles being traded in Apple currently. So, you know, when I go to the stats tab and I look at all the trades, like today you see how 101,000 calls, 81,000 puts, the delta is negative, they're buying premium, and I kind of keep track of what's happening. In Livevol X, you can actually click on these bars and it'll tell you all the biggest trades of the day. And a lot of times, like, I'll see calls and puts being traded. They're not always going to be straddles, but a lot of them are. And I think what people are doing is they're actually making bets that it's either going to move or it's going to stay here for a prolonged period. So it's not like they're all buying straddles or they're all selling straddles. It's a mix depending on what your viewpoint is. So if you think it's going to continue to narrow and not really trade and kind of trade in this little narrow band, then obviously you're going to sell the straddle. If you think it's going to move, you're going to buy. My general assessment is that I think it has a pretty decent upside. You see like how it's kind of making a nice little curvature, and it's been here for a while, right? So it's been this whole thing started like in September of 2012, where it really went down first, and then it kind of retraced, and now went back down again, and then it's getting narrower and narrower. So I think the next move is up, and my strategy is to keep. You see how the vol keeps going down? My strategy is to keep putting on the call spreads, and you know, a little bit at a time, and see how it goes, and keep track of the order flow. Because sooner or later there'll be very, very strong order flow, and what you want to do is you want to catch it when it like kind of bounces, it springboards off this consolidation, right? So it's like either way, like if it breaks and you think it's going to go down, that's the time to like be aggressive on being short. And if it breaks up, but you need to have confirmation on volume, and you need confirmation on options order flow to kind of give you that information that you need. So that's what's happening in Apple, and so a lot of times, so that's my plan. So until I change, that's what I'm gonna follow. A lot of times people ask me how I generate my ideas. So there's a bunch of ways I do it. One is like everyone else, you listen to the news, CNBC. There's a stock that's you know, of interest, so you start looking into it. Other times people talk to me about stocks that they trade, and I start looking into it. I look at the order flow. So I have this up every day, and then this has all the block trades, and I set it, you can set it any way you want, but I set it where I see all the trades 1,000 or more, and then if there's a stock of interest, I kind of click on it and look at it, right? So like this Vail set 12 puts, like 11,600 puts traded on the bid, right? So I go to it, I go to stats, 12,000. You see these things being sold on Philex. Let's actually go to the option montage. Go down. Which one was it? September? Let me look at it again. Yeah, September 12 puts. Yeah, so it's these right here, 29,000 times. You can see they've been a little bit buying or selling, but this is going to increase the open interest a great deal. I click on it, I'll see all the trades that happen. So sometimes it's misleading whether they sold on the bid or ask. You kind of have to follow this this timeline of all the trades, right? So you look at it, looks like they're selling, selling, selling. Selling, selling, selling. Right, and then basically this guy, even though this was a buy, he pretty much just right, so this actually could be a buy. So like this person's, you see how this is like 90, this is the resting order, and they keep hitting it, hitting it, hitting it. And then the last bid was, this bid was here, they hit it, and now it becomes the offer, right? And then people lift the offer. So my thinking is maybe there is some selling, and then I'll go to Vail. And now I don't know anything about Vail, and this is the first time I'm looking at it. I'll start looking at the stock chart. Looks like it had a pretty bad sell-off, and then I kind of start going from there. But usually something will come up that actually is of interest to you, and you'll start looking at it. So for example, let me let me look at a lot of times what I do is I'll go here and I'll go to the high option volume, right? So I see this morning when I did it, APD was one of them. Now I traded air products before, so when there's 13,000 contracts traded, I click on it. I see what's traded. Looks like, you know, all these calls, Jan 15, 135 calls. I go to it and see, you guys can see it right here, 11,000 of these traded. So I don't really know anything about air products, but some of you guys might be trading. If you are trading air products, this is essential information to have, that people are coming in and buying these calls today. So you see how like they're buying. I don't know why they're buying right now, but they're buying them, right? So they're buying, and they're only selling because somebody put in the bid, and they're just letting it rest. So somebody's accumulating the 135s. Basically, you start making money if air products go to 139 or higher. So that's a pretty decent move. You know, let me actually check the chart. I know it's been in the news a couple of times as being one of the favorites. It does look a little choppy. It looks a little weak right now, but you see how it's kind of riding. And let me actually look at the monthly, because basically they're saying till the rest of the year. So the rest of the year they're expecting it to go to 135. So when I look at this, I generally, since the chart doesn't really support it and I don't know that much about it, I probably won't piggyback it. But for somebody who, if other things that get aligned, then I would actually do that, right? So that's air products. How about this BBG, right? So I look at this, I look at the chart, and then the stats tab, and I see basically all these April 25 calls being traded, right? I look at it, 3,200. They're mostly trading for $1.95. You see all these buys. What I do is I'll look at the, you know, look at the chart. They're buying the 25s. It's interesting. It looks like they already had earnings. The volatility is creeping up. So basically, what you're doing is, if you trade this, I don't even know what this company does actually. Natural gas. Okay, so it looks like they do natural gas in Rocky Mountain region of the United States, and who knows? Maybe somebody's expecting them to announce some kind of maybe deal or whatever. But you see how like the open interest in the calls is like the highest is like 382 or 800, or so less than 1,000, and somebody just, you know, and this could be like some kind of staggered order, or there could be many different people buying because it was on some newsletter, but whatever it is, people are buying these calls, right? Maybe there's something's going to come out. If you trade this company, BBG, this is important news to have. So for example, if you wanted to short it because BBG looked weak, and you made some money shorting, well, you might have to kind of reconsider that a little bit, because now all this bullish order came in, and you see how even though the market is weak today, it's actually it might actually show that it might have a little bounce here, right? So whatever it is, these kind of information is what everyone needs. Now everyone's going to look at different things when they look at these scans, and it's pretty important, right? The one that caught my attention, and I'll just go to it, it's this pre-earnings high volume. So I kind of like stocks that have like pre-earnings and high volume. It's this OPK. So OPK, let me go to it. And the thing that's interesting to me is, like, you see how these September options are being traded, right? So I see 1,000 calls and puts. I see April 12 calls being bought. and I started looking at the open interest, and you see like how this 21,000, this kind of got my curiosity. So people are buying these options that are literally 50% out of the money. So you see this March 14, 21,000 open interest. April 14, 2,000 open interest. Looks like this is today. You see how today people are buying the April 12 calls for 15 cents. You see this, June 14 calls, 49,000 open interest. And you see the open interest line increasing? So people have been accumulating this. So like, I don't know what the reasoning is, because I just saw this today. You see September 14, there's 12,000, and then people are now putting on more. Although this looks like a conversion reversal, but people are putting it on more on this 14 line going forward. So this 10 line has the most, and when I look at it, that open interest is actually going down compared to the other 14 line. So the whole question is, why is the 14 line open interest so high, and what maybe are they going to announce something on January 17th on the earnings that might actually propel the stock higher? I look at the earnings tab. Looks like the last 3 earnings, after earnings, the stock went up, right? This is the yellow and the purple is the front 2-month straddle. So it's an easy way to know. If you bought the straddle, you lost. If you bought it, you broke even. Bought it, you broke even. So if you're deciding to buy or sell straddle, that's kind of like the past 3 history, and it goes back like 8 sessions. So it's awesome to look at, especially if you want to do quick research on a company. One of the other thing is like, okay, so what does this company do? You know, it's like a biopharmaceutical, and they do diagnostics, right? So I don't know what exactly is going on, but it intrigues me in wanting to do some research, right? So the first thing I do is, after the order flow and looking at the volatility, I look at this chart, right? So this is the daily, but let me look at the weekly. So you see how it's like kind of, it might be hanging out here for a little bit, and then maybe it has another shot up, or maybe it's just consolidating like it did back here for a couple of years. So who knows? Like you see how it consolidated for like a whole year, and then it made that bounce, and then it consolidated for a short period, and then made another bounce. And so we'll have to see if it's going to be prolonged consolidation, or maybe there's another bounce. The thing that is very interesting to me is when I started doing the research, and let me actually type that in. I was looking at some information. So it looks like they made some deal with Sony DADC, which is one thing. But I went down and I see like this massive amounts of stock buying by the CEO and chairman, this guy named Frost Phillips. Just so you guys know, I don't really know too much about this company. I just started looking at it like literally an hour ago before I came on. And this guy is just loading up on stock. So I don't know if he's like, you know, I don't know exactly what's going on. But he's definitely buying stock at a rapid rate in the past 2 months. So like you see how he was buying like, you know, 5,000, 13,000 here, 5,000, 150,000, and then in the past, basically since like late January, you see how like he bought 147, 259, 177, 150, 340, and he's just loading up on it. So maybe there's something going on. I don't know what the deal is. I would have to do more research. But it's, out of all the stuff that I looked at, it's the most interesting to me because you know, the 14 level calls are like over 40% away from where the stock is trading at. So for people to actually buy that and think that they're going to make money is kind of weird, and they're expecting some big moves. So I don't know, and you can see like they're just buying every 14 level strike. So I don't know what that is. You know, maybe Maybe it's this Phillips guy doing a buy right using the 14 level calls. Who knows? But it's interesting. I'm going to research it, and if I do a trade, I'll report back to you guys. So 2 other stocks, and I'll mention it real quick. One is SKUL Candy. So it had pretty good earnings, as you guys know, but it kind of ran up. And I was telling you guys, like I want to put on some bullish trade, but I want this thing to kind of drop back to around the $9 range. It's actually here. Now that it's here, I'm still kind of not sure when I want to put on. But if I look at the weeklies, it looks like it's making a nice like round pattern. Maybe I'll wait a little bit longer until it goes to somewhere in the mid $8 range where it consolidates. But we'll see what happens, right? So I'm still looking at it. I'm looking at the order flow. The order flow has been pretty tame, and the volatility is slowly coming down, but not as much. So you see, like it's 62. Eventually, it'll probably go down to like in the 50s. So every day I wait. The good news is maybe the stock goes lower, but the bad news is the volatility keeps going lower. So maybe the selling some vol might not actually work out in my favor. But in the end, I'm just kind of doing wait and see. What I didn't realize, and I just realized, like kind of looking at it today when I was thinking of what trade to put on, is these spreads are pretty damn wide, right? So even if you wanted to do a trade, you might not get a good trade off, right? So you see how it's 120, 140. So usually on these, what you would do is you would have to do a combination trade, right? So what I mean by that is there is strikes that you want to do, and then there are strikes that are trading, right? So if you know that these strikes are trading, let's say on the bid or on the ask, you can actually put in your order for the bid and ask and see, hopefully you get filled. So you see how this is like 45 cents. If you want to sell this, there's no need to like actually sell it for 35. You see most of them is trading for 45 cents. So you might be worth it to put it on the offer, or at least at 40 cents to see how it goes. So that's my thing on SKUL Candy. The other thing is this SolarCity Corp. It's been on the news a bunch. It's been probably a stock that a lot of people are recommending, which is generally not always the best sign. But if you look at the weeklies, you can see how it's kind of, I don't know what people call it, but it's like a semi-dragon or something like that, where it kind of like sold up, but then it came back to the 7-week trading average. And when I look at this order flow, I see heavy call buying, right? So it's one of those things that's kind of interesting. I was thinking of buying it before, but it just kind of ran up. So I think people are recommending it back here. So I was thinking like I was going to get it for like $50-some, and it ran up to 80. So basically I just gave up on it. Maybe if it goes down a little bit further, but it's interesting how you can see how it's kind of like moving as an uptrend, and it's at the bottom range of an uptrend. So for those of you guys who are trading SolarCity and you think, hey, this is I'm thinking of buying, well, it's important to see that the order flow also is pointing to that, and then you can see the volatility, it's ticking down, which means probably people are, it's kind of a bullish sentiment. So that being said, that's a lot of information in basically 27 or 30 minutes. I have guests coming today around 10:30. I'm going to demo Livevol X, and I'll probably do a couple of more trading. For those of you guys who are interested, go to livevol.com and get a free trial. It's an awesome software where you can contact and then say, hey, I heard that Stefan, gives some free live demos, and on that instance, you're more than welcome to join me. and see it for live. So kind of like a quick review on what I'm doing. Let's see my positions real quick. Oh, okay, so it looks like it went up 5 cents. I'm still hoping that it goes higher, and then I can get off my the 5.5 calls that I bought for 21 cents at 40 and 42. We'll see if I'm able to do it. Just generally, you see that I'm up $1,100 today, but I think the market is I think it's slightly lower. Right, so it's market's down small, 4 points, and I'm up, so I'm happy. I also have Agilent, Alcoa. Just a quick recap, and I have a lot of calls in these. I'm kind of happy it didn't really move anywhere. I think it's about to maybe move to the upside. Maybe if the market actually turns up, but we'll see. So I have these calls. I think it's going to do this and then have a pop, but we'll see what happens. So hope trading is going well. Talk to you guys tomorrow at 10 o'clock. If you guys do have any questions, feel free to go to community.com and go ahead and this is Livevol community. Go ahead and post. I'm not going to go to the homepage because I'm actually broadcasting, and you'll see some weird echoes. But there's a lot of great articles here, and it's a way for everyone to start learning about trading and talking and sharing ideas and so forth. So talk to you guys tomorrow. Hope your trading goes well for today, and see you guys later.